Iraq, Iran, Kusam and Baghdadi. Old Epstein goes to Ukraine for an impeachment, but the articles of Pelosi are not in the Senate. And all stories sound the same. Even bin Laden in a plane crash with Canadians. And let's not forget that fictional film. All explained rather quickly in today's episode of Rax Facts.
Hello everybody, Rax Frizzle here with today's edition of Rax Facts. Are they facts? Are they fiction? You decide. I'm just going to tell you what I've heard. Tell you what I've seen. Tell you what I think. You decide. Always. What's up? Thursday, January 9th, 2020. Brand new. Brand new year, off to a hot start this year, I'll tell you. Hot start. What's first? Is it the Canadians? Is it the Ukrainians? Is it the Iraqis? The Iranians? Is it our own government? Has anybody told the truth lately? Can you figure the truth out with what we have? Let's see what we have. What's going on in Iraq? Well, we've been there a while. They have a government. They want us out. They say, hey, time for you guys to leave. I kind of agree with them myself, but, I don't have all that intel. Iran, they wanted us out back in 79. And it's pretty much been a mess ever since. Of course, I'm not saying that the Shah of Iran was any better. That was a while back. I'll tell you, what a mess. Qasem Soleimani. Did they love him? I don't know. The regime in Iran is such that if you don't make a public showing of your grief for this war hero, General Soleimani, then you can be fined and jailed and put away forever. So I guess what you do, you go show up. They are so concerned. They are so concerned. How many people were trampled to death in that crowd? I just don't see the exact no. I don't see a good way of putting that. I'm just going to get back to that. Ukraine, boy, that's been all over in every way you can imagine. Hunter Biden, they liked him that much? No, they paid him. They paid him for what, though? Access to his dad? I can't imagine anything else. On the other hand, what really happened might be worse than what we imagine. Impeachment? What a phony show. What a phony show. We'll talk about Pelosi in a little while. Holding the articles of impeachment. What is that about? The Senate doesn't want them anyway, so hold them. Let's see, how many of your House are seeking re-election and therefore needing campaign time? Which, I don't know. Now that's the senators, because how many of them? That's what's always a third or so that are being reelected. Seats being vacated, whatever. The House Representatives every 2 years, but they're done. They're done. They did their thing, whatever it is. They haven't sent it on to the Senate, but you got some of these senators. You got a bunch of these senators thinking that they can. They've got a shot at the presidency, and they're going to need to put, their activities towards running for president. Of course, that doesn't say much for what their activities would be in the Senate, where they are employed. Yeah, you want to run for president? Why don't you go ahead and quit your job and go run for president if you think you got a shot at it? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I know why you wouldn't, but we're not going to, this is Rax Facts. We can only say the parts we know. And then we'll say if we don't know. But this guy, Soleimani, let's go to Bin Laden. Let's go to Muammar Gaddafi. Let's see, Gaddafi, when we saw he died. He. Anybody remember that? He. I couldn't say that about anybody. I'm glad that I can't say that about anybody. It worries me that anybody would be able to say that about anybody. And that person ever ran for president is just dark and scary. But nonetheless, we ran. We took him out. That was Gaddafi. We took him out, and then Libya turned into a hellhole. Does mind your own business come to mind? Bin Laden. Oh yeah. Did we really take him out, or was he dead years before that? Was that all a show? I don't know. See, there's the facts part. I don't think so. But we can applaud those things, but this guy Soleimani, he's planning, or at least we hear that he's planning, and he's done many things. Our countrymen's blood. If I were in the military and I knew only what I heard on the news, I'm hoping they get told a little more, but I don't know. I don't know how far the details go, but knowing that that's one more out of the way, is somebody else going to just jump in there and take his place? Of course they are. Of course they are. However, the guy that jumps in there and takes his place, look at that right there. What's going to happen to him? If I were this guy that was being put in to take old Qasim's place, hey, Qasim's gone, look, we want you to go in there and just pick up where he left off, maybe even be a little tougher. All right, yeah, how long are you going to last? Okay, so it could quiet things down. It could be worse. Okay, so we're going to have an attack. You took out our general. He was just a diplomat, We sent him over to talk, make a deal with the Saudis. The Saudis. Come on, yeah. Like those guys all get along real good, yeah. But you took him out. You killed him. You assassinated him. Well, looks like we did. Looks like we very much did. And it looks like he very much was a casualty of a war that's not been how shall we even put it? If you want to wage war, and you want to call it a war, then you have to go to Congress. So this isn't a war, but he died in it. Vietnam wasn't a war. I don't know that we've fought one yet since, what was the last one? World War II? Yeah, it's been a while. We've been in a lot of places doing a lot of things, but we haven't declared. I know you were waiting for that word, a war. So this is Soleimani guy is a casualty of an undeclared war. Yeah. But he's gone, and there'll be more to take his place. But now you've got a country with a totalitarian regime. That would be Iran, whose one of their top rabble-rousers has been taken out. And in typical mafia style, if you take one of ours out, we have to take one of yours out. Well, actually, there's a stronger term, but they didn't go there. But they used 20 some odd ballistic missiles. Does anybody have the concept of just how huge a ballistic missile is? And how costly? And we're going to launch waves of them, hitting 2 military bases that contain Iraqis and Americans and probably others. And president comes out solemnly the next day and said nobody was killed, nobody on either side was killed, light damage. We're going to sit this one out. Well, that was kind of calm after a night of hold your breath. But he did that. Now there's Rax Facts. The man came out the next day and said what they did didn't amount to much, and we're going to let it go at that. He said that. I believe he meant it. I believe it's pretty much what happened. But the question that a lot of people are asking, a lot have asked me, what was the backstory on this? So here you go. We've got a Ukraine connection. We've got a Canadian connection. There was a plane headed for Ukraine. Just as I recall, within less than a couple of hours before this strike, takes off on a normal commuter flight from Baghdad, heading to Ukraine. 185 people or so on board. Boeing 737-800 jet with a sterling record. Has mechanical difficulty. Pilots don't send any messages requesting help or anything. And the wreckage is strewn over a large area. Lots of little fires and busted into pieces that just don't make any sense. A plane, by its own volition, if the fuel lines burst into flames inside the cabin and blew the thing up, it wouldn't look like that. Now, come on, let's look at what we're looking at. We're looking at the result of a surface-to-air, most likely, missile, rocket, whatever you want to call it, but it was definitely a direct hit with a massive destructive explosion in air, a fireball coming down. We're talking jet fuel. Can you imagine a fully loaded jetliner getting blown up in the air, what that would look like? I think we know what it would look like on the ground. Just look at the news videos that you saw. There it is. Okay, so this airliner shot down within hours of this airstrike of all these ballistic missiles. These are the things that once they take off, if you're not the one that sent them, you don't know what that warhead is. These things can carry nukes. Do they have nukes? Hey, I don't know. That's not fact. Do I think that they have them available? Yep. You and I could get them if we felt like it, but we don't feel like it. And we don't have the cash it would take to do it, so there's that. Of course, we did just give a lot of cash to Iran. I mean, like a lot. I think it was in cash on pallets or something. Some guy named Obama did that, yeah. Muslims. Anyway, so this plane's on the ground, blown up. Who was on it? A dashing amount of Canadians. Now, excuse me for a second, but just what in the world are, I don't remember the number, folks, but was it 60 Canadians on a flight from Iran to Ukraine? I mean, you know, a Canadian can pop up anywhere. You could have a guy from Portugal there and another guy from Ecuador and 2 or 3 from Mongolia. I don't know. I've been on flights before. I had lots of foreigners. But a third of them were Canadians. That's a stretch. Canadian Prime Minister's a little upset about it, but he can't really do a whole lot about it right now. Oh, and the black box. We're not going to turn that over. Yeah. There's only one possibility for why that would be. Maybe it was damaged. Have you seen what they do to keep them things from being damaged? Okay, so you got some things cooking here that we can't call facts. All we can call them is surrounding allegations, such. But the fact is, you can't have that many coincidences. So there's something going on with the Canadians here. I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's just there. Will we ever hear about it? I would I would say very low odds that we'll ever, we'll hear about it, but we won't know about it. So you got a lot of things going on here. Then we send all these missiles that don't really do any damage, and it appears that they really didn't do much damage. And these are the same missiles that in previous attacks and launches have been able to hit within a couple feet of where they were intended. So where they were intended, you better bet, is where they hit. They knew what they were aiming at, and they hit what they were aiming at, which is the only way they could have not killed anybody. The people that sent the missiles, maybe not the guy that pushed the button, but I think you get it. The people that sent the missiles and the people on the ground where the missiles were coming both knew that those missiles were shipped over to hit nothing. Big show. Okay, big show. Why big show? Why? All this stuff has some reason. All this stuff has motive. You got the people of Iran, wonderful people, at least the ones I've met. I met some upright, totally wonderful people from that place. And most of the ones that I meet would like to call it Persia. I think we know why. I probably would too. It's their homeland. It's the place they love. It's not the regime that they love. Believe me. That regime supposedly is based on Islam, but the reality is it's like any other regime. It's based on its own desire to control, manipulate, hold on, power. It's all about power. And we'll call it Islam, we'll call it anything we want as long as we get to keep the power. And that power is dark. That is dark. So, you get this dark power, goes around with their general just raising havoc and killing people. He gets killed. If this regime does not strike back, these Persian people will have their eyes open. That the bully that's been ruling them can be moved. And this bully that's running the Persian people doesn't want the Persian people to get that idea in their head. So if they don't respond to the death of their favorite son general, they'll appear weak, and they cannot afford to appear weak. But they can beat their war drums, rattle their sabers, and send a few rockets in the air and say, we're going after them. Death to America. How about this one, guys? Phone rings in the White House. Now, I'm going to tell you a story here that is purely Rax fiction. So, note, story to come, Rax fiction. You put it wherever you like. Rax fiction story. We'll call it, I wish I had come up with something good for this one. We'll call it the fictional phone call. How's that? The case of the fictional phone call. White House phone ring. You guys took out our general. Quite honestly, the guy was getting a little bit out of control, and we'd have probably done it ourselves if you hadn't. But we can't appear weak to our people, so here's what we propose. Now that's the beginning of the fictional phone call, but perhaps there was another fictional phone call weeks ahead of time. we got to take out this general leaders. We're going to do it. We know you're going to have to respond and all, but we're going to do it. We're going to take complete authority on. So don't get all up in arms. Deal with us. We'll work through this thing. That was another fictional phone call. But back to the one at hand. Yeah, you took out our general, and we've got to show force here. So we're going to have to attack. Now, we'd like to talk to you about that. Do you have any spots that would raise pretty significant havoc, but wouldn't set you back all that much? And but it's got to look spectacular. It's got to. Now, fictional President Triumph says, well, there's this air base out in the middle of wherever. You can throw a couple over that way. And there's this one, it's a pretty good airstrip, but we've got some older buildings there that we'd like to get knocked down. And I'll give you a list of their locations. And we'll send all our people out. What time do you have in mind? Oh, okay, so your funeral's over at fictional 4:00 p.m. your time on pick a day, Friday. So you'd like to launch the rockets at 4:30. That's it. That sounds reasonable. Okay, here's the locations. We'll send them out. We'll have our people dug in. They'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But make sure you don't miss. We can't be having that on either side. You mess this up, we're going to have to come at you hard. If you don't mess it up, we can make a case where this thing's over. We'll handle our side, you handle your side. Everything's good. All right, everybody agrees. Orders are sent out to the areas. Expect we're going to have a fire drill. Yeah, big fire drill. Everybody's got to participate. Fire drill gets called in at about 4:30. Everybody's moving out. There's really nobody there now. And you're told, get out, stay out. Here's how far away you need to go. Here's where we want each one of you. Command and control centers, they're down below. They'll be fine. Oh, look, all these missiles are coming. But now there's that plane. There's that plane. What's on that plane? Does somebody on that plane see all this stuff in the fictional phone call story relies on need to know. If you need to know, you also need to watch your back, because this gets out, you die. We'll get to Epstien in a minute, and you'll see how that works. But as this is going on, and just before the missiles take off, somebody who knows all of this story, understands the story of the fictional phone call, he's getting out of there. And he's going to Ukraine because he knows some people in Ukraine that are tied to the people that need to hear this story. So as he gets on that plane, he's confronted. Where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, just leaving. That gets back to those in the know. Fictionally, of course. And that flight is eliminated. Just eliminated. The Canadian connection, even in the fictional story, that would be a stretch. But I think if we consider this, there's a Canadian connection. Why are all these Canadians going at the same time? Let's go. We got to get out of here now. Who are they? Students. Okay, fine. They're gone. Plane's dead. planes down, rockets go, nobody gets killed. But the news just knows that there's ballistic missiles going up. Here's video of them flying out of Iran. And not much news coming from the places they're getting blown up, because guess what? How would you possibly get news from the place that's being blown up? You just can't. You can't get that right away. But we start hearing, oh, it doesn't look like too bad. It's something, several waves have come. But apparently, somehow or another, things have calmed down. Now I'm going to show you something I was looking at. I don't need to show you the graph. You can look it up yourself. But I happen to have been watching the price of silver. Some people watch gold. Some people watch this, that, or the other. I just happened to notice it. I didn't even know anything about these rockets at the point. I did know that there was some saber rattling going on in Iran. And I said, you know what? I don't really know what's going to happen tonight. I'm taking anything that I happen to have and selling it. Well, there's an interesting thing about the timing. If you want to sell a silver future or any form of a SLV or any of the ETFs, any of that involving silver, it's just basically buying stock. The stock market closes at 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 3 p.m. where I am. That's fine. You can make trades after that if you have access to extended hours. You can trade all the way until 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in New York, or 7 o'clock in Central. And at about 8:01, the price of silver shot up like a rocket. Like one of them intercontinental ballistic missiles. Interesting. Why, a minute after the United States is no longer able, or at least most of the people in the United States are no longer able to trade until morning. Interesting timing. Within a few hours, there was no response, and we hear the president's going to make an announcement, which he didn't. Then we hear a few hours later, those who were really concerned about it, not paying attention to it, and saying something's up. Well, they later on had to hear, he'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Interesting. And at that point, the price of silver went down. And quite oddly enough, by the next morning, later the next morning, quite a bit later the next morning, about the same time our dearly beloved president made his announcement, which was stellar, the price of silver had dropped below where it was closing the night before. It was a non-event. Non-event. And our dear president steps out and says, they're not getting nukes. Oh, and by the way, good morning. And went out to deliver what I felt was one of the best delivered presidential speeches I've ever heard. Other people have other opinions. It's Rax's opinion. You can have yours, I'll have mine, but there's your fictional phone call. We're not going to do anything about it. Yet. Of course, if they don't act civilized, we'll certainly have to respond, and we're forced to respond. That response will be unmeasurable. So there you have it. You got Iran, Iraq. Those two have never liked each other. They fight wars between themselves. I always just say, this is what Rax says anyway. Just pull out. They'll eliminate each other on their own. But we haven't done that yet. Kusan Soleimani. He's not Italian, I'll tell you that. He's gone. As will the others in the wake. Remember Baghdadi? Baghdadi from Baghdad? I don't know how that went. It's like, is it expedient? Is it politically expedient to use this stuff in a dramatic way to try and get votes, hold control, or make a mess of things? That's where you probably need to talk to Nancy Pelosi. She's a master at getting things all dramatized. Just total drama. Nancy, go home. Do something for your constituents. They're tripping over feces and needles. Go home. Work with them. Do something. Do something helpful. Do something compassionate for your people. And leave the U.S. government alone. You've done enough damage already. And Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think any of us, well, any of the mass of us, have any idea what was going on there. The one thing we know, and I'm going to call this a Rax Facts, the man did not commit suicide. Have you seen the photos? No. Now, is he even dead? Was that just a mannequin? I mean, I don't know. There's just like, who knows? What I do know is he did not commit suicide. And that was not a proper crime scene. It's just too many details to even talk about. All the bed sheets piled up and the cords and the prescription pills. This was a solitary confinement. And the cameras don't work and the guards are asleep, and this is the most visible prisoner in the entire country. No, that's not what happened. We all know that's not what happened. Impeachment? Ain't happening. That is, how shall I even put it? Irrefutable. I'm going to find out who's running that water and ask them to turn it off so that you can hear me. But that is a sham. Or they'll turn it up, I guess. That is a total sham. And I don't know that the people responsible for it will ever be brought to justice. I just don't know that. I'd love to see it. I don't expect to see it. Articles of impeachment being held up. I mean, come on. It's such a major case that it's imminent. This man is putting the entire country in danger. We have to get this impeachment process as soon as possible. And then we get it voted for by all Democrats and no Republicans. That's kind of a whole other thing. And then we don't send it to the Senate. Nah. That's I've seen poorly done reality shows that showed a lot more. That's just silly. It's just plain silliness. Senate, yeah, bring it on. They'll squash it. That'll be the end of it. Hey, they might give it a little, like there might be a fictional phone call there too. But don't you notice that all of these stories are the same? Every one of these stories is the same. It's all based on the spectacular, the sublime, and the untruths. You can take that to the bank. And that, my friends, is the fictional phone call. I love you. This isn't over. Probably never will be. This is the never-ending story. But today's Rax Facts in the news. God bless you. Pray to your Savior Jesus.